10 betrayals, and every single one of them happened after the plane came down. You know October 20th, 1977. You know the swamp outside Gillsburg, Mississippi. That part of the story gets told every year like scripture, but that's where most people stop. And that's exactly where it starts getting hard to look at. Because what came for Lynyrd Skynyrd after the crash wasn't fate, and it wasn't bad luck. It was paperwork, lawsuits, broken oaths, people who should have known better, and knew better, and did it anyway. 10, the band that said no. Earlier that same year, another band looked at that exact airplane, same tail number, same 2 pilots, and they walked away. Aerosmith were putting together the Draw the Line tour, and they sent their flight people out to inspect the Convair. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry actually wanted it. They'd been pushing their management to rent that specific plane. So the crew went and looked. Zunk Booker was Aerosmith's assistant chief of flight operations. He went out there with his father, and while the two of them were walking around the aircraft doing their inspection, he watched the pilots, Walter McCreary and William Gray, passing a bottle of Jack Daniels back and forth between them. Aerosmith passed, not because of the plane, because of the men in the cockpit. Now here's what I keep coming back to. Skynyrd's people weren't blind either. 2 days before the crash, on the way into Greenville, 10-foot flames came out of the right engine. Everybody on board saw it. It rattled the whole camp badly enough that the band pushed to upgrade. They had a Learjet lined up to pick them up in Louisiana. That flight to Baton Rouge was supposed to be the last one. One more hop in the old bird and they'd never have to see it again. Cassie Gaines didn't want to get on. She'd said she'd rather ride in the equipment truck. She got on anyway. And if you've ever had a bad feeling about something and let somebody talk you past it, because there was a schedule, because there were tickets sold, because everybody else was already walking toward the door, you know exactly what that boarding gate felt like. The NTSB would eventually write it down in plain bureaucratic language. Fuel exhaustion, crew inattention to the fuel supply, inadequate flight planning. Translation: the 2 men whose only job was to know how much gas was in the tanks did not know how much gas was in the tanks.
I must be traveling on.
9. The vault opens. Less than a year later, MCA had a brand new Lynyrd Skynyrd album in stores. September 5th, 1978. It was called Skynyrd's First and Last. And here's what it actually was. A stack of demos the band recorded at Muscle Shoals in 1971 and 72, back before anybody knew their name. Material that had been shelved, passed over, deliberately left in a can for 6 or 7 years because it wasn't the record they wanted the world to hear. Ronnie had been gone for 10.5 months. Gold certification came 3 days after release. 3 days. Platinum by November 10th. And the survivors were still in physical therapy. Alan Collins had nearly lost his right arm. The damage was severe enough that amputation was on the table. Leon Wilkeson was rebuilding a body that had been pronounced dead in a Mississippi field. Gary Rossington was learning how to be a person again. Meanwhile, there's a fresh Skynyrd record, moving units in every mall in America. Now, I want to be fair here, because this is where it gets complicated. That album is good, genuinely. Down South Jukin, things going on. You can hear a band figuring out what it's going to become. And the fans wanted it. desperately. People were grabbing anything with that name on it because they couldn't accept the story was over. But you know what makes it land different? 4 years before any of this, Ronnie Van Zant stood in a studio and recorded a song called Workin' for MCA. A song about exactly this, about a label man showing up with a contract and a smile, and a plan to work a bunch of Southern boys until there's nothing left to work.
Well, I heard Miss Young sing about her.
He wrote the warning, and then the warning came true after he wasn't around to say I told you so.
Sweet home Alabama.
That's a specific kind of ugly, not a crime, not even a betrayal you could sue over. Just a machine doing what machines do, on schedule, while the people who fed it were still in casts.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
8. The honkette who wasn't on the plane.
Troubles will come. Oh,
She should have been in that seat. She had a phone call from Ronnie inviting her back. JoJo Billingsley, one of the honkettes, the 3 backing vocalists Ronnie assembled in 1975, alongside Leslie Hawkins and Cassie Gaines.
rich man's gold. All that you need.
She'd sat out the opening dates of the tour. She was back home in Senatobia, Mississippi, under a doctor's care, trying to get herself right.
Oh, yes, I will.
Right before the Greenville show, Ronnie called her. Come back, meet us in Little Rock in a few days. And then she had the dream. She described it years later, and she never softened it.
Boy, don't you worry.
She saw the plane hit the ground. She saw people screaming. She saw fire. She woke up and got on the phone to Alan Collins and begged him to stop flying that airplane. Nobody could act on it. What do you do with that? A phone call at 2 a.m. from a woman having nightmares. You say thank you, you say we love you, you hang up, and you get on the plane. But that's not why she's on this list. JoJo Billingsley said she helped write That Smell. Gene Odom, Ronnie's childhood friend, the man who was on that plane, has backed her up on it. And when you look at the writing credits on Street Survivors, the song lists 2 names, Ronnie Van Zant, Alan Collins. The honkettes were on salary. That was the arrangement. Salary means you get a check and you don't get a piece.
Don't live too fast.
And by the accounts of the people around her, Ronnie knew it wasn't right and said he wanted to fix it. He had 3 days, so here's where it sits, permanently. That Smell is the song this band gets remembered for as a warning, the death-haunted one, the one every documentary uses. And a woman who says she helped build it has never had her name on it, and never will, because the one man who could have signed the correction died before he got around to it.
And don't forget, son, there is
She passed in 2010, 58 years old, never credited.
something you love and understand.
Sometimes the betrayal isn't malice. Sometimes it's just a promise that ran out of time. And I'm not sure that one hurts less.
We can.
7 June 29th, 2000. 23 years. That's how long Ronnie Van Zant got to rest before somebody came for him. Jacksonville Memory Gardens, out in Orange Park, Florida. Ronnie in a mausoleum crypt. Steve Gaines' ashes in an urn nearby. Cassie buried just behind her brother, with her mother and father in the plots alongside her. On the night of June 29, 2000, vandals got in. They broke open the crypt. They pulled Ronnie's casket out and left it on the ground. They took the urn holding Steve Gaines, and some of his ashes went onto the dirt. 5 graves were disturbed that night. The casket stayed sealed. Whoever it was couldn't get it open, or ran out of time, or lost their nerve. Small mercy. The only one available. And here's what I didn't know until I went looking. It happened again. Less than 2 weeks later, deputies caught a man inside the cemetery trying to kick in the temporary wall they'd put up to protect the crypt. Different man, not connected to the first break-in, according to investigators, which somehow makes it worse, because it means it wasn't one crew with one sick idea. It means the place had become a destination. The original vandals were never caught. No motive was ever established. Nobody knows if it was souvenir hunting or something uglier. The families did the only thing left to do. Ronnie's people moved him quietly to Riverside Memorial Park across town, and they didn't tell anybody where. That secret held for 12 years until somebody accidentally leaked it by listing 2 adjacent burial plots on Craigslist. The Gaines family took Steve's ashes somewhere private, and nobody has said where since. There's a memorial still standing at Memory Gardens. The men aren't under it. And honestly, this is the one on the list I have the hardest time with. Every other betrayal here has a rationale behind it. Money, ego, contracts, a lawyer doing a job. This one had nothing. Just people who loved a band so hard, they stopped being able to tell the difference between devotion and desecration. You put your heroes somewhere sacred, and then you find out there's no such thing as somewhere sacred. 6. The Oath. In the weeks after the crash, 3 people made a promise to each other: Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, and Judy Van Zant, Ronnie's widow. Billy Powell was there, so was Teresa Gaines, Steve's widow. And what they agreed on has been called the Blood Oath ever since, and it was exactly 1 sentence long. Nobody would ever perform as Lynyrd Skynyrd again. That was it. Not a contract, not a filing, a promise between people who just buried the same men, and they kept it. I'm leaving my woman. That's the part I need you to hear, because it changes everything about what comes next. They kept it for 10 straight years. Rossington and Collins put together the Rossington-Collins Band, and they went out of their way to not be Skynyrd. They hired a woman, Dale Krantz, to sing lead, specifically so that nobody in the crowd could squint at the stage and pretend. Powell and Wilkeson played on it too. Then that band broke apart in '82, and Collins started the Alan Collins Band. Different names, different setups. "10 years of grown men deliberately refusing to cash the biggest check available to them. Then 1987 came, the 10-year mark, and the idea took shape. a tribute tour, not a reunion, a tribute. Collins and his father did the recruiting. Ronnie's youngest brother, Johnny, took the microphone. Ed King came back after 12 years gone. Randall Hall came in to play Alan's parts. 84 shows, and whatever you want to call it, the oath was finished. I'll be straight with you. I don't think the men who did it were cynics. Rossington's own wife said he was still raw about it, still emotional, and only came around because he decided that if it was happening at all, it had better be done right.
Baby's gone with the wind.
That's not greed talking. That's a man trying to control something that was going to happen with or without him. But a promise is a promise, and this one had 5 witnesses. Some of you have already decided how you feel about the tribute tour. I know that. This is the first place on the list where reasonable people who love this band go to war with each other in the comments, and I'm not going to tell you who's right. 5, under protest. The tribute tour was still on the road when the lawsuit landed. 1988, Judy Van Zant Jenis, Ronnie's widow, against the surviving members. The fight was over the name. Who owned it? Who could sell tickets under it? Who got to put Lynyrd Skynyrd on a marquee and take the door? Think about the optics from both sides for a second, because this is where the record shop arguments start. From where the band stood, they were out there working, playing 84 shows, generating income that flowed to the estates, to Ronnie's kids, to the widows.
Maybe I was 10. My mama used to whip.
Artemis Pyle has said it flat out. They were on the road making money for Judy and her children, doing what they should do, and getting sued the entire time.
Yes, sir.
From where Judy stood, her husband's name was the most valuable thing he left behind, and she was watching a band she wasn't in decide by themselves what to do with it. She'd been a party to the oath, too. She'd made the same promise, and she was the only one still keeping it. They settled it on October 11th, 1988, with a document called a consent order, judgment and decree.
To ever played blues.
30-some pages laying out who could use the name, under what conditions, who could use Ronnie's and Steve's likenesses, and who was allowed to tell the band's history. Everybody signed, and then there's Artemis Pyle's signature, because right next to his name, in his own hand, he wrote 2 words, under protest. He'd later say things settled down after that everybody got on the same page, that it all became copacetic. Maybe it did for a while. But those 2 words sat in that file for 29 years, waiting. And if you've ever signed something you didn't believe in because the alternative was losing everything, you know that feeling of writing your name and hating your own hand for doing it. That document is going to come back before this list is over. 4. The man who built the comeback and couldn't play it. Alan Collins wrote Free Bird. He was 15 years old when he came up with the changes. And in 1987, when Lynyrd Skynyrd walked back onto a stage for the first time in a decade, Alan Collins was sitting at the side of it in a wheelchair, watching another man play his song. Here's how he got there, and none of it is easy. He came out of the crash with 2 broken vertebrae in his neck and an arm so badly torn that doctors discussed taking it. He rehabbed. He played again. Then, in 1980, While he was out on the very first Rossington Collins tour, his wife Kathy hemorrhaged during a miscarriage and died. He was on the road when it happened. He never got right after that. Substance problems, depression, arrests, reportedly 18 of them between 1974 and 1985. And on January 29, 1986, driving a brand new Ford Thunderbird with his license already suspended multiple times for DUI, he put the car into a ditch in South Jacksonville. His girlfriend Deborah Jean Watts was killed. Collins was paralyzed from the waist down. I'm not going to dress that up. That was his own doing, and a woman died, and he pleaded no contest to DUI manslaughter. But here's the part of the sentence nobody talks about. 2 years probation, 50 hours of community service, and a requirement that he speak publicly against drunk driving during Lynyrd Skynyrd's reunion tour appearances. So picture the actual night. Alan Collins, 34 years old, the man who assembled this entire reunion with his own father, who picked the set lists, who personally chose Randall Hall to play his guitar parts because he trusted him with them, rolled out in front of 20,000 people, delivering a court-ordered warning at his own band's show, then rolled back to the wing to watch somebody else play Freebird. He died on January 23, 1990. Pneumonia. He was 37. He handed his own hands to another man and then sat there and watched. And I'll say this straight, and some of you are going to fight me on it. I think that's the single loneliest position anybody in this story ever occupied. Being dead is one thing. Being present and replaced is another. Three, credited on a record he never played. The 1991 album is called Lynyrd Skynyrd 1991. Look at the personnel and you'll see Artemis Pyle listed. Drums and percussion. He isn't on it. Not one beat. Every drum track on that record was played by a man named Kurt Custer. Pyle wasn't involved in making it. He got a credit for a performance that didn't exist, on an album he had no hand in, and by August 2nd, 1991, he was gone. He walked away from the band in the middle of a run in Toronto. Now, he's given more than one reason over the years. He's talked about the lawsuits. He's talked about the politics. He said in print that he left because of what his bandmates were putting into their bodies, and he did not use gentle language about it. But sit with that credit for a second, because that's the tell. You put a man's name on a record he didn't play on. Why? Because the name has value. Because the drummer who survived the crash sells something. Because a certain kind of fan is going to flip that sleeve over, see Artemis Pyle, and feel like they're holding a piece of the real thing. He's not a musician in that moment. He's a bullet point.
There's too much coke, too much smoke.
And he wasn't the only one getting processed. Ed King, the man whose voice counts off Sweet Home Alabama, a song he co-wrote on a record that will outlive all of us, had already left once in '75 after clashing with Ronnie.
Now they call you Prince Charming.
He came back for the reunion, played 9 more years, and in 1996, congestive heart failure took him off the road for good. He'd get a heart transplant in 2011. He'd get inducted with the band in 2006 and play Freebird one more time on that stage. He died in August of 2018. They sued the man who went for help, October 20th.
What's your name?
1977. The plane is in pieces in a swamp. Artemis Pyle has torn chest cartilage, and he is one of only a handful of people on board who can still walk.
What's your name?
He gets out. He helps others get out. And then he takes off through a creek and across a field, several hundred yards in the dark, to find a farmhouse.
9 o'clock the next day and I'm ready to go.
He's covered in blood and mud, and a 21-year-old farmer named Johnny Moat takes one look at him and fires a warning shot over his head because he thinks he's an escaped convict.
Shooting straight, ain't no.
Pyle keeps going anyway. That's how the rescue found them. 40 years later, that man got served.
What's your name?
June 2017. The plaintiffs, Ronnie Van Zant, Inc., Gary Rossington, Johnny Van Zant, the trustee of the Allen Collins Trust, the representatives of Steve Gaines' estate.
To the show.
The defendants, Artemis Pyle and Cleopatra Films, over a movie called Street Survivors, the true story of the Lynyrd Skynyrd plane crash, the legal weapon, that 1988 consent order, the one he signed under protest.
What's your name?
Judge Robert Sweet held a 2-day bench trial in Manhattan and ruled against Pyle. Permanent injunction. The film was blocked on the reasoning that the blood oath and the order that followed it barred him from exploiting the band's history, even his own history inside it. Sit with that. A federal court told a man he was not legally permitted to tell the story of the worst night of his life.
I got 600 miles to ride.
And in the middle of all this, according to Pyle's own account, the account the film is built on, he was a man who'd never even been under contract with the record company. His deal was with the band, which meant when the hospital bills came, they came to him. In October 2018, the Second Circuit reversed it, 3-0. The appellate judges wrote that the crash was part of the band's history, yes, but it was also Artemis Pyle's experience. And likely the most important experience of his life. They found the consent order simultaneously forbade and permitted the same film, and you can't build an injunction on a contradiction.
What's your name?
1. The name that outlived every man who earned it. Gary Rossington died on March 5, 2023. He was 71 years old. He was the last original member of Lynyrd Skynyrd. The band is still touring. Let me lay out how we got here, because the arithmetic is brutal. Ronnie Van Zant, 1977. Steve Gaines, 1977. Cassie Gaines, 1977. Allen Collins, 1990. Leon Wilkeson, 2001. 49 years old, chronic liver and lung disease, a body that never really came back from that field in Mississippi. Billy Powell. January 2009, 56, heart attack. Bob Burns, the original drummer, 2015, a car off the road into a tree in Bartow County, Georgia. Ed King, 2018, and Gary, the last one standing, who spent 46 years standing. His final show was at the Ryman in Nashville, November 2022. They announced a farewell tour back in 2018. That was 8 years ago. They're still out there. Now, here's where I have to be honest with you, because the easy version of this story isn't the true one. Johnny Van Zant has said, publicly and repeatedly, that this was Gary's explicit wish. That Gary told him directly, "I've spent my life carrying this legacy, and after I'm gone, I don't want to see this band go away." Dale Rossington, Gary's wife of 41 years, said her husband's whole thing was that the music was bigger than any one person. The families of Ronnie Van Zant and Alan Collins signed off on it too. So who exactly is the betrayer here? That's the question I can't answer for you. Because on one side, every single man who wrote those songs is in the ground, and the trucks still roll. And on the other side, the last one who could speak said, "Keep it alive." And the people who loved him are doing what he asked. Ricky Medlocke is on that stage, and here's your bit of full circle rock history. Medlocke played drums in this band in 1971 and 72, before Blackfoot, before any of it. He's been in the Skynyrd story longer than almost anyone, but he's not an original member. Nobody up there is. You've probably already made up your mind. I've made up mine, and I'm still not sure I'm right.